Hello again, friends, and welcome back to Suzanne Elizabeth's Kitchen. Tonight I'm going to share with you a very quick video on how to do stuffed acorn squash. And if you've watched my other video on stuffed pumpkin, you know how much I love stuffed pumpkin, stuffed squash, and so I decided to do my own spin on it tonight. So I've got one acorn squash, which you can see I simply cut in half, taken all the seeds out, and I put it face down on the cookie sheet and put it in the oven for about 20 minutes on 350 degrees. So it's not all the way cooked through yet, but that's fine because we're going to stuff it and then put it back into the oven. So in this pan, I have sauteed some chicken sausage that is flavored with Anduille seasoning. So it's very spicy and picante, hot and spicy. And I have some little bread cubes that I threw in there, and then some spinach that I sauteed. And then finally, a little bit of apple. Now quickly I'm going to, well, first I'm going to add this feta cheese, and we're just going to crumble that. This is off the flame. There's no flame underneath this pan. So I'm just crumbling some of this feta cheese into this pan because this is going to be what we stuff our acorn squash with. And then you can probably guess what I'm going to do next, which is to grab the nutmeg, the infamous nutmeg. And let's see, yep, I have my little grater here. I'm going to grab this very quickly, just give this a little scraping, and not too much, but not too little. We want the warmth from the nutmeg and that hint of lovely spice that it gives us. But we don't want to overpower the dish. And, you know, as you know, in my last, I'm just looking to see if there's anything else I want to add. In my last video, I talked about that same situation. You know, we have a little bit of sage. And since it's November, and Thanksgiving is coming, and we've got spinach and the breadcrumbs, just a little pinch, just a little pinch, and that's going to give us just a nice add to the nice hint of autumn. Yesterday it started snowing here in Colorado, and the temperature dropped to, I think it was a low of 5 degrees yesterday. So it's very cold. Even today it's cold, gray. We've had a fire going in our wood stove all day long. And so this is the perfect dish for that. Okay, so now let's see. I want you to watch this. I'm going to just quickly take all of this. Yes, clean hands, impeccably clean hands. Just put this into our acorn squash, and don't worry if, you know, some of it's going to fall out, and that's okay. We're not, remember, my philosophy of cooking is that we're more concerned about taste and making a meal that we will enjoy with our family and friends than worrying about, you know, the perfection of this or that. Remind me to tell you sometime about, well, I'll tell you now very quickly. I once had a friend, and she was also very into cooking as I am, and we were talking about how we approached new recipes, and she said, Suzanne, when you try a new recipe, do you follow the recipe exactly to the letter, or do you improvise? And I said, well, to be honest, I improvise. In fact, one of my most memorable occasions, one of my most happiest memories of my father is one day we had these 3 frozen lobster tails in the freezer and we needed to do something with them. So we decided to make a lobster bisque. We pulled 5 different cookbooks off the shelves, consulted them, and spent the next 5 hours making lobster bisque. So obviously we weren't following any one particular recipe. And yet that creative process, going through that with my father, is one of the happiest memories I have of him. And, you know, and so I was telling this to my friend, and she was aghast that I would not follow a recipe to the law, to the letter. And she said, Suzanne, how can you know what the chef intended unless you're following the recipe? And I thought, well, because it's my food and I have to eat it, so I want to make it the way I want to make it. And that's the way I want you to feel about cooking, is I want you to feel happy and courageous enough to improvise and enjoy cooking. It's your food and you're going to eat it, so enjoy it. So, okay, enough of my rant. I digress. Now we're going to put the finishing touches on here. And I'm just going to grab a little spoon, and I just want to grab, I've got some butter from my little butter container, and I'm going to put a little dab of butter on the top of each. Let's see if you can see this with my trusty iPad. A little bit of butter on top of each half of the acorn squash. And then I'm going to take, I've got some pure maple syrup from Costco. Costco, we love Costco. And I'm just going to drizzle a little bit. And I think we have now completed the holy trinity of autumn flavors. We have sage, we have maple, we have sausage. What else is there in life? And nutmeg. What else is there in life? So we've got just a little splash, just a little boop, 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 little splash of maple. And that's going to add some sweetness to all of this savory that we have going on. Now I'm going to go put this back in the 350 oven for another 30 to 40 minutes. And again, the way to know that it's done is when the actual squash is easily pierced with your knife, when it's tender. Because everything else is cooked. So you're just cooking the squash now. So that's it. Enjoy. Let me show this to you. It's wonderful. Enjoy this wonderful meal. This would actually serve 4 people, I think, because you could cut each of the halves into half and have 4 quarters. Enjoy your winter or late autumn meal. Invite in family and friends. And I'll see you again soon in Suzanne Elizabeth's kitchen. Cheers.